Decim feels weird over the next guests arriving. One of them is a murderer. He calls Nona to confirm, and she tells him to carry on with the judgment despite having no experience dealing with this since there are none others available. A young man named Shimada and a detective named Tatsumi. Decim asks them if they have memory. Shimada remembers that he was heading somewhere. Tatsumi also remembers that he was heading somewhere, but he doesn't remember where. After Decim explained their circumstances, Tatsumi and Shimada, like many others, don't believe the game they have to play and try to search for an exit. At the restroom, Shimada opens his bag to find a blood-stained knife. He starts cowering in fear. Since there is no way out, Tatsumi, who is a detective, suggests going along with this game. In his line of work, he can tell Decim is not lying and is also not a killer. They also introduce themselves to each other. They go back to the Decim bar and push the red button, which they are going to play air hockey. The black-haired girl explains the rules of the game. The pucks have organ pictures on them, and the first to reach 6 points wins. As the two guests participate in a game of air hockey, Shimada remembers his sister crying incessantly after their parents died. Shimada promised to protect her. Tatsumi asks if there's something wrong. Shimada reveals to him that he remembers his sister, who is crying over their parents, who died when they were too young. As they take a break, Tatsumi talks to him about the hardest part of being a detective, dealing with the grief and pain suffered by the victim's next of kin. Confronting those feelings takes a lot out of you. Tatsumi wants to continue the game in hopes of finding a clue to everything, including Decim. This time, Tatsumi remembers he came home from work only to find his wife murdered. He goes to lie down for a while as Decim notes the pace is slower than usual. As he cannot influence the memories they recall, the black-haired woman suggests wanting to take a peek into those memories too. Decim will put in a request for that later. Tatsumi further remembers his wife. She even remembers his birthday for him, and the shoes he is wearing now were her present. And there's something about a criminal he put behind bars, and when he is out on parole, Tatsumi becomes obsessed in tracing him. He returns to the game more aggressive this time. Now it is Shimada's turn to remember. He comes home one day to find his sister beaten up. Her face was really messed up. Of course he is the brother and furious seeing what happened to his sister. Tatsumi tells Shimada that he has to leave this place and that he has to do something. Shimada responded that he has to do something too, even if it costs him his life. Since the time limit is up, Decim announces the change in rules. Each time they score a goal, they will suffer pain in that organ depicted on the puck. Tatsumi asks about Shimada's predicament, and he explains his sister has been stalked for a while. He went to the police, but they couldn't act on it. He won't let him get away. Tatsumi also feels the same. Since his wife is murdered, after he gets out of this place, he is going to kill somebody. The black-haired woman's request is approved as she receives both their memories. Reeling from shock, she realizes both are murderers. They continue the game, and when Shimada feels the pain, he remembers more. He went to the attacker's house, and he stabbed him to death. But he also got stabbed. However, he remembers his sister telling him there was one more who was watching, and she wants them all dead. His revenge isn't over yet. Now it's Tatsumi's turn to feel the pain and remember. He killed his wife's murderer with cold blood and heard his wife's voice thanking him. Shimada wants to forfeit his turn and give Tatsumi a chance to get his revenge, seeing he is in a near-broken state. But Tatsumi gets up and wants to continue with the game. He tries to convince Shimada to go get his revenge because if he lets that guy go, he is going to do the same thing again. Both become aggressive in their air hockey games, and Shimada scores the winning goal. The pain has Tatsumi remember everything. He was on C's case and visited the attacker's apartment. He was shortly stabbed from behind. It was Shimada who stabbed him. After he killed that guy, he went to the toilet to vomit but heard somebody coming in. Thinking he was the accomplice, Shimada stabbed him from behind, and Shimada bled out and died. When Decim explains his Arbiter job he is doing, Tatsumi feels it is very similar to his. He also marks people and judges them. That attacker was on his mark and was just monitoring him. When sister of Shimada was being assaulted, she saw Tatsumi just standing there watching from behind the trees doing nothing. Shimada is mad that he didn't do anything to stop his sister's assault. But Tatsumi says had he done so, he couldn't have killed him. Because for there to be judgment, there must be a victim. Shimada loses his cool and tries to attack him, blaming him that he could have saved his sister, but only to be held back by Decim. Tatsumi replies that even had he saved his sister, another woman would be targeted because the attacker was targeting several other women. He should be thankful his sister is still alive, and he got his revenge, so don't bring him down any further. Shimada is in full rage and wants to kill him. Decim held Tatsumi and gave Shimada the opportunity to exact punishment on Tatsumi by stabbing the pucks containing Tatsumi's organs. Decim explains that since they are already dead, they can't be killed again, but can induce pain. However, the black-haired woman has had it with everything and wants all this to stop. She chides Decim about this passing judgment thing he is doing because all she is seeing is that he is doing the same thing as Tatsumi did. All he did was bring up people's darkness, and how could he understand the many emotions of others when he has never lived himself? This causes Decim to be in a great dilemma. Tatsumi adds fuel to the fire that after killing his wife's murderer, it was like his calling to become the savior to others because it led him to kill other filthy bastards. If you want to accomplish something, sacrifices must be made. Shimada is going to stab him, but the black-haired woman begs for him to stop as she reveals about this reincarnation and void thingy. She tells him he can be reincarnated in another form to see his sister again, but if he gets thrown into the void, he loses that chance. Just when he calms down, Tatsumi opens his big mouth about their naivety in this cruel world. If you can't protect someone, all you can do is kill the other. If you can't change the world, then change yourself. Shimada loses it and stabs all Tatsumi's hockey pucks, inducing pain to his entire body. We see that after Tatsumi's parent died, he worked hard to support his little sister. At the end, it's unknown what happened to Shimada and Tatsumi, but it is likely that they were sent to the void. Decim woke up in the same place that the black-haired woman woke up in. The scene changes to the present time, with Decim going to see None, bothered by what happened last time. He tells her he thinks the way they judge people is flawed and says that maybe the extreme conditions the guest is put under reveal the darkness in the soul. He questions that and asks what if they are creating the darkness instead of showing it. He then apologizes to Nona and tells her since he respects people who've lived a fulfilling life, he can't judge them. As the two talk, Nona explains that the black-haired woman is regaining her memories and will soon have to be judged. Decim says that he will be able to judge her and doesn't need Nana's help with it. Decim then denies the request of Quinn sending along the black-haired woman's memories, saying he should be alright. She asks if he is going to judge her soul without the darkness, and Decim starts saying, "In all honesty, I don't think that's her true nature," but is cut off by Nona asking if he really thinks he knows her true nature, and even if he did, he wouldn't be able to understand it. Decim clenches his fist in anger but says nothing. Nona then says that they'll have a special guest arriving soon, saying he's still an arbiter. Back at the Quindecim, Decim and the black-haired woman wait for their guest, who happens to be an old lady named Sachiko Yumuna. Before choosing the game, Sachiko claims to know the picture that is shown from somewhere. The three of them end up playing Old Maid, and Sachiko claims that she knows that old man who is shown on one of the cards. Actually, pictures that are related to their lives. Like Sachiko, who is a manga artist, she sees lots of her creations here. Decim picks a kokushi, reminding him of a conversation that he had with Jinti about judgments about humans. All will die one day, which is the same reason why they judge. Back in reality, the three continue to play, and the scene ends with the black-haired woman picking the Joker card. Meanwhile, Nona and Clavis are shown talking to Quinn, and she asks for all of the black-haired woman's memories. Sachiko wins the game and realizes she is in the afterlife. She knows so because she saw a manga character she has not created yet appearing on the card. That can only mean she's dead. But she's calm about it since she doesn't know how she died. But she wouldn't like to know it either. When the black-haired woman picks up the Chavot design card, Sachiko recognizes it because she read it somewhere. She further explains the story of Jimmy wanting to tell the girl named Chavot that he loved her. But there's a catch. Chavot is deaf. This is when the black-haired woman remembers she loves this book a lot and has her mother read it to her many times. She likes Chavot's smile and is trying to imitate that big smile of hers too. This is when the black-haired woman remembers her real name, Chiyuki. She gets the Joker and loses the game. Sachiko leaves happy and thanks them and to be reincarnated. Chiyuki wonders how she died, so Decim realizes they can't do it this way anymore. Meanwhile, Oculus calls Clavis not because he needs a billiards partner, but to peek into his memories of those regarding None. He finds her thoughts about arbiters and human emotions to be pointless. With Decim and Chiyuki, Decim wants to know more about humans before Chiyuki has to be judged, as she can no longer stay there with her body crumbling away. Mayu and Harada have not yet been sent on and are still in Jinti's bar. But Jinti says Harada's soul has not come back yet and also needs a soul to cast into the void its place. What happens if the soul doesn't come back? You become a mannequin. Mayu is willing to take his place to be cast into the void, but was told off she doesn't know what kind of scary place it is. It is dark and empty, where you fall forever while embracing your negative emotions like regret and despair. Jinti gives Mayu the choice to choose another human soul to be sent into the void in exchange for Harada regaining his. She seems reluctant and indecisive, but from her reaction, Jinti knows she already has decided. Meanwhile, Decim recalls his first meeting with Chiyuki. She walks into Quendecim looking very startled and concerned. She then tells him she knows she's dead and asks for help. He puts her to sleep, and Nona comes. Nona thinks the Information Bureau messed up and will restart everything for her judgment again. Decim wanted to judge her, although he doesn't know why. But Nona wants to leave her with him for a little while as his assistant. Back in the present, Chiyuki returns to the bar, having changed into the purple leotard, only to see the bar transformed into an ice rink, with Decim waiting for her. He asks her to perform some ice skating. As she skates, Chiyuki's memories return, learning that she became a professional figure skater due to being influenced by her favorite children's book, Chavot. But at the height of her career, a severe knee injury forced her to retire, which led to a severe depression as she became detached from everyone around her. This eventually led to her suicide. And yet Chiyuki acknowledges that it was not the fact she could not skate again that had her so depressed. When her mother remarked that she was proud of the fine woman Chiyuki had grown to become, Chiyuki denied this claim before insisting her mother leave the room, suggesting that her sense of self-worth was the cause of her depression. The people she had met through skating ultimately became strangers to her, and so she believes that it is wrong to want to understand other people. Decim is interested in knowing more about her. Although he has never lived or died, he is glad to have met her. Decim gives her a last drink. Memento Mori signifies a reminder that one day you will die. After she takes a sip, she falls unconscious. Meanwhile, Mayu has decided to stay with Harada and share his fate rather than sacrifice another person in his place. Mayu asks Jinti where the elevator will take her. Jinti says it will take her to where Harada's soul is. She asks if he will really wake up, and Jinti assures her that he will. Jinti questions her what Harada is to her. Mayu replies, he is her life. She turns the question around on him, wanting to know why he acts as an arbiter. He says it's simply his job and something he's supposed to do, to which Mayu expresses pity because unlike her, who has chosen to live her life in a certain way. The doors close on her then, before the Nakizo mask switches to a Hanya mask, suggesting that Jinti tricked Mayu and sent them both to the void. As the elevator descends, their skin starts to peel off. Mayu is glad to see Harada come to life for that brief moment before they turn into mannequins and their soul casts down the void. As Nona leaves her place, Oculus is before her and knows she has been doing something behind his back. Oculus tries to read None's memories, but she evades. He is suspicious of her motives. She argues that they are not puppets like he perceives all of them to be because arbiters can acquire human emotions and change. However, he says arbiters will still be arbiters, and whatever she is trying to pull won't change anything. Decim makes a phone call to the Information Bureau, requesting a memory sent over. Afterwards, Decim carries Chiyuki into the elevator, greeted by Clavis, and asks to be taken to the lowest level. Chiyuki wakes up and finds herself in her old room as Decim enters. Decim says this is reality, where 3 months have passed since her death. He sees the Jimmy and Chavot dolls, and she tells him it was made by her parents. She treasures them. The two wander around Chiyuki's house, reminiscing about her life. When her mother returns, Desum explains that they cannot be seen or interact with the living. He tells Chiyuki she can return to her old life by sacrificing the life of a random person, giving her a button to press. Also, everyone who knows about her death will have their memories of it rewritten. When she sees that her mother is breaking down and missing her, causing her to regret taking her own life, Chiyuki becomes tempting to press it. But when she is about to do it, she remembers all the other guests that she has co-judged and is unable to press the button. She explains to Desum that everyone has someone they cherish. She cannot live with the fact that she will be sacrificing one of them. In that instance, Desum clutches his chest, as he finally understands what sorrow is. Chiyuki is also emotionally breaking down and apologizing to her mother. She wants to see and talk to her mother badly. Desperate, she tells Desum to press the button. When Desum starts crying and screaming, the world shatters. They are on the bottom floor, where all mannequins are tossed. Desum apologizes for deceiving her and says that this was part of her judgment. The two of them have no idea that they are being watched by Nona and Oculus, who are both surprised by how the situation turns out. Oculus insists that arbiters should not have emotions, as this will only get in their way of judging. Nona thinks otherwise, but he doesn't press on the matter any further. Desum apologizes to Chiyuki once more, and she embraces him as they both cry their hearts out. Before the elevator to Quindusum closes, Chiyuki sheds tears when Desum flashes her a genuine smile as he reminisces about his memories of her. He bids farewell to her as she is sent to reincarnation. Castra and Quinn seem to be having more time relaxing with Nona because it looks like more arbiters have been made. Nona isn't going to do anything drastic for now because Oculus is having her eyes on her. As Nona narrates the rules for arbiters, Oculus adds a fourth one. Arbiters will not work hand in hand with life, for it will ruin them. Two new customers arrive and are greeted by a smiling Desum as a doll with Chiyuki's appearance is seen sitting next to the bar. Thank you for watching till the end, and please don't forget to subscribe. See you next time and peace out.